представитель компании Tech Video Systems, Micky Edwards. Он англоговорящий, но, насколько я знаю, практически все присутствующие прекрасно понимают по-английски. Если нужна будет какая-то помощь с переводом вопросов или чем-то еще, обращайтесь, я тоже тут рядом. Hello, Micky. Are you here? I'm passing the table to you.
Thank you. Okay. Good morning, or good afternoon, sorry. Firstly, let me apologize that I'm not doing this in Russian. If I was to do it in Russian, we would probably be here all day while I was pronouncing the word. So apologies for that.
No problem. Most of the people can speak English, so
okay.
It's okay.
That's great. I'm here today. Micky Edwards, as I was introduced. I've been with TAG for a couple of years now. I am VP Business Development for EMEA and APAC and work out of the UK. I'm here today to talk about our MCM 9000 product, which is a real-time media platform. Quick little bit of about TAG, and then I'll get straight into what the product is. So founded in 2008 by Thomas and Gal, hence TAG. We're experts in real-time IP, and I'll talk a little bit about that in a moment. So it's software only. Over 70,000 probing points, and I'll explain a little bit about that in a minute. Zero friction. I've got a few items on that about what our culture is, why we're different as a business. And the whole thing that we do is probing, monitoring and visualization of these. And then we can provide information around that as well. Headquarter and development center is in Tel Aviv, but we have offices in the UK, India, and Singapore. So we're well versed for delivering services right across the world. Let me just, sorry, there we go. Okay, so TAG, world's #1. We consider ourselves to be as the integrated probing, monitoring and multi-viewer. It's a real-time media platform. So what we're looking at is a combination of all three of these. So when you buy a MCM 9000 license, you get probing, monitoring and multi-viewing all wrapped into this. So it's just one solution. It's not three separate solutions that you can buy. You can't just buy the multi-viewing or the probing. It's an integrated solution. And it runs on real-time processors. So 100% IP. We don't look at baseband. We don't look at SDI. We look at uncompressed and compressed formats, and 100% software. So you can deploy the MCM 9000 on bare metal servers within a facility. You can deploy it on a virtual machine, or you can deploy it in the cloud. But it's just the software that we supply. If you're doing it on premise, say you're looking at uncompressed services, and we're looking at 2110 or 2022-6, then it's self-contained. So the application itself runs just on a small USB stick. This is plugged into the server. You don't need an operating system. You don't need any hard drives. What it does require is processing power through CPUs and RAM. So it's self-contained Linux kernel running on Ubuntu 20.4. And this means that it's very quick to boot, very reliable, very robust, and something that you can get up and working very quickly after the initial install. We have a VMDK, so a virtual machine development kit if you're deploying it on a virtual machine, and we have an AMI if you're deploying it in the cloud, either with AWS or Google, and we're also looking at other cloud suppliers as well. So really depending on what the requirements are will depend on how we deploy this. As we say here, managing both uncompressed and compressed formats, so things like H.264, we can look at MPEG transport streams, we can look at MPTS, multiple program transport streams, we can look at single program transport streams. We work with Zixi, SRT, and a whole range of different formats. And we serve the 4 primary broadcast and media applications. So live production, play out, transport and delivery, and OTT. And we can also look at encrypted services as well. and I'll explain a little bit about that in a moment. Over 400 distinct probing capabilities. So for each source that you're monitoring, then you have a wide selection of probing that you can attach to that particular source. So if you're looking at OTT, you can look at the GOP structure. You can look at what's happening with packet loss. So lots of details in there. Things that are important to people are like SCTI markers. So if you're looking at fast channels, these free ad-served streaming TV services, what's important to them is to be able to find the SCTI markers in there for the ad insertion. If the SCTI markers aren't there, they can't put ads in, so they can't monetize that service. It means that their whole business model doesn't work. So it's very important for some of these new channels that are coming up that are relying on ad insertion to make sure that these ad markers are in the service. We can also look at different resolutions as well, up to UHD 4K, and in actual fact we've done some 8K tests as well in Japan, as you probably would expect. One of the things about is interoperability, and it's very much in TAG's nature to look at how we work with other people. So everything that we do within the user interface is there as a JSON API. So everything's an API call. So if you want to change a layout, if you want to add a template, etc., then it's all done through APIs. This means that it's really easy to integrate into network management systems, into broadcast control systems. So something that TAG has worked on over the year. Yeah, so everything's there for making it really easy to integrate, and we go with people like Skyline, the data miner, and their Skyline solution. So over these 70,000 monitoring points worldwide, these are some of the clients that we work with. So a whole range of tier one, but we can scale. This is the whole important part about this. So we can go from a few channels. We've got some channels in TV2 in Denmark. I think we did 16 channels for them for Wimbledon, up until one of our largest clients. I think last month that we did 15,000 licenses, which equated to over 11.5 million license hours in 1 month. And that's the sort of scale that we can go to. So we can go from very small solutions up to very, very large solutions. And the whole idea of this is that TAG aligns itself with the business requirements of the clients that we work with. So we make sure that there isn't any friction. So hence the zero friction term that we use. So exciting projects that we had this year: NBC Sports, Tokyo Olympics, Riot Games, transatlantic esports tournaments, and these brought together things that we developed together with Dolby, including Atmos and also JPEG XS, which actually we've also integrated with AWS and CDI. So we're actually using CDI now on the AWS platform to go through their direct connect to get these services up onto the cloud. So zero friction, just a quick bit about this. It's all about the bottom line, so that we make sure that, as I say, we align the business requirements of the client with what we deliver as a business service. So 100% digital application for media and entertainment. And we can offer what the broadcast market has always requested, is that we align our pricing models up so that they scale, and they also meet their clients' requirements. So if it's an OPEX model that's required, or a CAPEX model, or a hybrid, some CAPEX, some OPEX, then we can mix and match across here. So we're very adept at aligning ourselves with the business requirements of our clients. Technology, multifunctional, multi-application, a mixture of compressed, uncompressed. We can come in one flavor format, and we can go out in another, and we can display all of these at the same time. And I've got a little demo right at the end that we'll have a look at. The other big thing about zero friction is its operation agility. So these are floating and agile licenses. No longer are clients restricted by the technology debt that they end up with obsolete equipment, because they've moved from having compressed to uncompressed services. So they go, well, I can't use this piece of equipment now because it doesn't do uncompressed, it only does compressed services. Or you move from going from Zixi to SRT, and all of a sudden it's like, well, hang on a moment, I don't need these licenses now that are doing the Zixi, because I'm moving my services over to SRT. So instead of ending up with that technology debt, what we actually do is these licenses are agile, and they can go from an on-premise solution to a cloud solution to work in Zixi or SRT or NDI. So the whole thing is agile enough, again, to line up with the business requirements of the clients. So instead of having 30% use of the service, you can now have 100% use of the service 100% of the time. So these are some of the things that we put in last year. Zero friction, as we just told, Zixi decode and encode. Adaptive monitoring. Adaptive monitoring is really good. So 3 layers of monitoring within the tag system. So you can have full monitoring, where you're getting the video back and you're getting all the telemetry data from the sources. You can do light monitoring, where you're just getting the telemetry data and you're interrogating perhaps 1 in 5, 1 in 6 frames. And then there's light monitoring, where you're interrogating 1 in 10, 1 in 15 frames, and then just bringing that information back. But if there's a problem, it then goes into full monitoring, hence the term adaptive monitoring, to make sure that you're then visualizing what's happening with this particular source, and then can go in and fix it. So we monitor all of the channels all of the time, 24/7, but you can select which ones that you want. And I'll just go through the little article at the end where we discuss what's actually happening with the services. SCTI 35, as I said, in HLS and Dash, so that these fast suppliers know that they've got the markers in there. Things like JPEG XS, Adeto encryption if you're going into an encrypted service, CDI, SRT, and NDI. So all of these features and functionality are included in the product. It's not an additional cost. This is part of the development of TAG. So we don't ask you to pay for these individually. It's part and parcel of the licensing agreement. Real-time media performance. Again, we mentioned live production, transport, play out, and OTT. So this is what the media production and delivery ecosystem looks like. So we've got live production venues here. We've got broadcasters. We've got OTT operators, distribution services, and pay TV operators. And these are the different monitoring points that we can look at to create this overall mosaic view, and produce the views and telemetry data to make sure that the quality of service is managed right across the broadcast chain. So these are the tag applications. So as we said, live production, play out, incoming and outgoing feeds, OTT. So if you're in the OTT domain, excuse me, we can actually look at encrypted services. So we don't go in at a DRM level. We actually go in at the key management server. So we ask for a key to be sent with its ID. We identify that and then use that on the output of the OTT services to decrypt the services and then pull them back. And obviously we can look at conventional delivery, so cable, satellite, IPTV. And then this allows us to then create different views for different people. So the people in the MCR may want a different view than engineering. It may be that within the management, they just want to see all of the channels that are going out so that they can have it on a big wall behind their desk. When clients are coming in, they can see all of the different channels they're going. So we can create many and varied outputs that allow you to tailor this to what the requirements are. And again, it's about aligning of business needs. So this is what play out integration on premise looks like. So we've got here the live production studios receiving off satellite. We've got play out channels, main and backup. We've got the media network. signal processing, delivery encoding. We can look at pre-mux and mux services. So if you're taking these services, we can check them before they go into the mux and then when they come out of the encoder. And then these can all be gathered together and produced onto different multi-viewer displays, as well as providing alarms out for network management systems. And with our MCS, which is the media control system, we can aggregate all of these different alarms over multiple monitoring points and then make them available for third parties to do further diagnostics with. And perhaps looking at AI systems that will then come up and look at trends for streams that are going through the system and saying, okay, well, there's more bandwidth being used here at this particular time, and then they can look at allocating services across that. So playout in the cloud is very similar, apart from now we're hosted in AWS or Azure. And what we're doing is monitoring all of these incoming services. Again, we can look at all of the different touch points. So we can have a hybrid system. So you may be looking at some on-premise services that are being fed through to the cloud, as well as on-cloud services that are residing within the same service. We can also look at across different availability zones. So we've got one system where there's an availability zone in Denver, in the USA, and another one in Ireland, and we're working across those two availability zones. So very much we can tailor the system to be able to look and monitor different services across different platforms. Okay, so this is the end of this, and I'm just about on time. So what you can actually see on here is that each of these blocks is an individual output in its own right. And what we've done is we've fed these back into the system as HLS, and then we've created a 10th output, which is the 9 other outputs within it. So this is what I was mentioning before. This might be a view for management where they want to see all of the available services that they've got. This block here is what we call a CED or penalty box. So only channels in error will be put into this area. This is a playout looking for preview and program and the different services that it's providing to. You've got this one, which you can see is red and blue. So this is actually uncompressed, working at 2022-6. And we can see that we've got main and backup here. You can also see that we can put things like clocks, graphics, UMDs, tallies, all of the normal things that you would see within a multi-viewer view, we can put in there, as well as the additional functionality of the 400 probes that can come in. This block here is monitoring radio channels. We have another main channel going out on here on program and preview. This is looking at OTT delivery, so it's going out and looking at different bit rates. So we've got ABR, adaptive bitrate monitoring going on across this service. This is live production, so we've got our various feeds coming through from studios or cameras, and then we've got a main program going out. So this is the sort of thing that TAG can put together. Very pleased to talk to anybody about it. We offer a demo program, so you can have 20 channels, 20 licenses for 90 days to do your own tests with, and you can host that on premise, on VM, or on cloud. So my time is up. Thank you very much. I hope you've enjoyed the presentation. I can make this available to you afterwards. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mickey, for interesting presentation. And till my colleagues formulating their questions, may I clarify a couple of things? Sure. For me and the others. So did I understood right that your system provides 2 interfaces to the end user? One is a multi-viewer that is highly configurable, and another interface is kind of web interface with all of the technical data about probes and some errors that you might have with the channels you monitor. Is it correct?
That's correct. Yes. So one is the visualization. The other one is the MCS, which is the media control system that gives you the telemetry data out so that it can go into a third party. And there's several of these systems out there that are open source that you can develop to be able to handle that information.
I see. And is it possible to gather multiple servers into one interface if you have a lot of channels and you use several servers to monitor them to have one interface?
So one of the largest systems that we have is actually with Discovery, and this is their Eurosport, and they have 180 servers that are running. And they have different views for different servers, so you can integrate multiple servers within the view. Yes.
Cool. And you mentioned about 400 probes for different types of video signals. I'm not asking you to name all the probes right now. It would take a lot of time. But do you have information about what exactly probes you have somewhere on your website, for example, or some presentation?
Yes, we can make some of that information available. I mean, it's all the standard ones like loss of video, loss of audio, blacks, color bars, all of those. But there's a whole group more depending on what source type it is. If it's OTT, as I say, we can look at the GOP structure, we can look at the PIDs, we can look at bit rates, we can create a template of when you initially brought that service on board, and then you can do template matching to say, okay, well, this has changed on the output that I'm looking at now. So there is some detail on our website, but if you require more, then we actually have a full API document that gives details of, I think it's 421 API calls at the moment.
I see. And what happens if some of your clients need some specific probes for some specific formats? Is it possible to develop some extra probes, or you just put it on your development plan?
Yeah, so interesting. It's very interesting you say that, because the whole ethos of TAG is that, as I say, we align with the business requirements of the clients that we work with. So things that have been brought in recently are NDI and SRT, because this is a requirement. So we have a roadmap. We have a number of items within that roadmap that come from different client requests, and depending on what projects come forward, then those items will get brought forward in the roadmap. But yes, I mean, one of the things was Microsoft Smooth Streaming. I don't think many people use that now, but that was a particular client requirement, and we said, okay, well, we'll include it. So that if there are specific requirements that we don't currently do, then certainly we would look at that and look to get that integrated within the system.
Okay. And what's the licensing model for your system? Do you charge per channel or per server, and how it's usually goes?
We can run, basically there's two. There's a CapEx and there's an OpEx SaaS model. And that can run ad hoc, monthly, 12 months, 3 years, depending on what timescales the client needs. And what we do is we license the inputs, we don't license the outputs. Although it's very important that we know about the outputs, because actually it's the outputs that calculate on the number of points that's required for processing. So what we do is a calculation based on the number of inputs, number of outputs, and that will tell us how much processing we need, either on a bare metal server or within a cloud environment. So we add that up, but the actual licensing agreement is on a per input, and that's a unique input, except for if you're looking at something like OTT. So if you're looking at OTT, then we do a percentage of the outputs. So if you're looking at one main profile and 5 secondary, that would equate to 2 licenses.
I see.
And they can be done on a, as I say, on a CapEx, so you can do a one-off perpetual license, or you can do this on an OpEx SaaS model.
Okay, cool. Thank you very much. And let's ask our colleagues if they have any questions. Уважаемые коллеги, есть ли у вас какие-нибудь вопросы по данному докладу? Пожалуйста,
Yes, I
задавайте.
have many questions to Micky. Hi, Micky. Ilya
Hi.
Doronin, DNT System House, Canada. First of all, how do you monitor cable and satellite feeds? What probes are you using? What tools are you using for this?
So this is all our internally developed tools. So it depends on what format. If you're looking at H.264 or what format that you're coming on the cable or the satellite feed, it may be that you're bringing down an MPTS, a multi-program transport stream. So we look at the transport stream and we can look at all of the available PIDs within there. And then you can actually select and say, well, actually, I only want these are the two critical ones. The other channels in there, I'm not required about. So it really depends on what formats that you want. But anything that's in the IP domain, then we can look at it, whether it's HLS, whether it's Dash, RTMP. So there's a whole range of different formats that we can get access to.
No, I'm just talking about cable, QAM, and satellite MPEG-2 transfer streams. How do you monitor this? Do you need IRDs? Do you need set-top boxes? How do you monitor this?
So well, you need to get it into an IP format. So you'll need to get it into.
You need to transcode it. Okay.
Yes, yes, it'll need to be transcoded into an IP format.
Okay, and the second question, the Mosaic multi-viewer, what tools are available for the design of this monitor wall? Is it all based on JSON API, or you have some kind of web interface, web browser interface?
So you can do a total design with using the JSON APIs. There's actually a number of predetermined tiles. So you can pick up a tile that's got audio meters either side or one side. So there's I think 40 or 50 different tile types, and then we can design one, or you can design one through API. We are looking at doing like a web-based editor to be able to do further changes to that. But there is quite an extensive list of available tiles that you can then drop and resize into the multi-viewer output.
Okay, so web interface, web design interface is not ready yet, right? So when you do, make sure it has a thumbnails, because it's very hard to work with a black screen like on Evertz MVP Maestro, for example. You don't see the video, you cannot design it correctly. And the last question I have for you, let's say you mentioned something about 20 licenses for demo.
Yes.
This is the question. So for example, I need to watch 20 sport games at the same time on a multi-viewer, and it could be at the arena, it could be in the home office, for example, right? So how much traffic do you need? What processing power do you need for watching, let's say, 20 HLS streams? Not all profiles, just the main profile, let's say the highest resolution, without killing the internet modem. What kind of traffic is needed? Okay,
so it depends on if you're looking at an HLS output. I'm just trying to think on the bandwidth that we look at. I know that we did some work because one of the requests we had was people working from home, so that we're able to provide them with a sort of a low resolution, low bit rate feed. I'll need to get qualification on that. What sort of bit rate are you looking at on the feeds themselves?
No, it doesn't really matter. Just like to be able to view the games in real time, not the refreshing thumbnails, but just to view and to monitor, let's say, 20 games. It doesn't have to be higher resolution, because if you have 20 screens on one screen, it doesn't have to be full HD, right?
Right.
So it can be lower resolution. So it's fine, but it just I faced with the problem that when you monitoring 20 feeds, sometimes it's killing the internet modem. Okay, well we can adjust on the. I think what we should do is arrange for a user interface demo for you, because actually what you can do is adjust the bit rate on there.
So for the different outputs, so this would be an HLS output. You could run it at somewhere around 3 to 5 megabits. So depending on
it fluctuates. I have 1 gigabit per second internet connection, but this morning I ran the speed test and it's only 250. Right. And sometimes I can see the packets are coming in 250 megabit per second. So it's just throttling, and
yeah,
that's what's killing the modem. Okay, thank you very much.
But yeah. So what we can do is we can send you some of the description on what you can set as output bandwidth.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mickey. Unfortunately, we cannot afford more questions because we are already running out of time. We have a lot of people who are taking the presentations today. So thank you very much again for the interesting information, and hopefully that you will extend your business in Russia and other countries around. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Yeah, no, really enjoyed it today. And if there are further questions or anybody's interested, then please get in touch. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much.